That's all, folks. Russia has just failed one of its main objectives of this war. And Russian propaganda obviously does not talk about this that much, but in my video we'll talk about it all. At the same time, Evgeny Prigozhin once again shows signs of the increase of the influence and ambitions. That is why it looks like that Putin decided once and for all to erase Wagner. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Now let's go straight to the point and see some most recent footage, and you guessed what? We begin once again with some ridiculousness from the Russian propaganda. And so in this video we have the representative of children right in Russia, Maria Lvova-Belova, and she's saying that her adopted kid from Donbass, he is running after her own children which were born in Russia, and he is screaming, "I will eat you, Moscow! I will eat you, Moscow!" And I mean, it was obviously the responsibility of the Russian propaganda to say that yes, we need to save these poor Ukrainian kids because they're being abused by the Ukrainian parents. And here we are, Russian saviors, who are gonna to protect them. And well, as you can see right here, the Ukrainian kids apparently turn out to be not up to the highest standards of the Russian propagandists, but obviously, as you kind of imagined, they realized that they can turn around this whole situation and still blame Ukrainians. And what they basically said is that those Ukrainian authorities were forcing these poor little kids to watch this brainwashing propaganda 24/7 just so that they hate Russians. And I mean, I don't know about you or I don't know about Ukrainian kids, but whenever I was a kid, I was just playing video games, playing with my Lego sets or just watching cartoons. I definitely was not forced to watch political debates, but you never know. But okay, speaking about a little bit more news from Russia, still infused with propaganda, according to the Ministry of Defense of Russia, Sergei Shoigu, he said that this way of notifying people whenever they're getting summoned into the Russian military, this method of notifying them electronically, it works pretty well, so that you can paint a perfect picture of your potential conscript. And I mean, wasn't it in the beginning just to literally notify whenever you're about to receive a summons to the military? And now they are somehow able to create a perfect fresh conscript based on these only notifications. This whole system was pretty suspicious since the beginning, but okay, so going to the next news, to another country, to Belarus, its President Alexander Lukashenko recently met with the Chief Intelligence Officer of Russia, Sergei Naryshkin. And just once again, as in the beginning of this war, Senor Lukashenko was once again saying about these inconceivable threats against Belarus. I mean, once again, in his mind, somebody wants to attack his little unprotected country. So I just have to ask you a question, guys. So, Matt, is it you who want to invade Belarus, or no? Maybe it's you, John, who want to capture Alexander Lukashenko. Or wait, never mind. I think it is you, Jeff. Definitely, it's you, Jeff, who want to invade Belarus. I know it's you. But okay, now to actually serious news. And so yesterday, Finland has officially become a part of NATO. And immediately after, the Finnish flag was already raised in the headquarters of NATO in Brussels. And so this country became the 31st member of the alliance, which now, as you can imagine, means that Russia has officially failed one of its major goals in this war, which is not to let NATO expand, especially closer to the borders of Russia. And speaking about the borders, with Finland joining the alliance, now Russia shares 1,271 kilometers more with NATO, which is a huge problem for Putin. Because now, whenever NATO wants to do its military practices, they can do it literally and legally next to the borders with Russia, And in case Russia interferes or even attacks subconsciously or intentionally Finland, then Finland can invoke the Article number 5 of NATO, which basically means if one of NATO countries is attacked, it means that the entire alliance will be forced to protect this country. And the reaction of Russian authorities to this event was also pretty immediate, such as, for example, the press secretary of Russia, Dmitry Peskov, who said that because of Finland joining the alliance, Russia will have to take measures to protect itself. But then, before you even know it, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, he said that Russia is now always, not now, but always it has been open for the nuclear conflict resolution negotiations. We are good people, do not worry. So yes, it almost feels like that the Russian authorities do not communicate with each other whenever they make these absolutely contradicting statements. It almost feels like that they have a dysfunctional government, but okay. If you also stopped believing these empty nuclear threats by Russia a long time ago, just please can you like this video and subscribe to my channel? I just want to see how many of us are right here. You can also follow my second channel, The Russian Dude Clips, where I post under 1-minute summaries every single day. The link will be down below. Alright. Just a couple more words about the Western military support to Ukraine, and then we'll talk about the situation in the south and the east of Ukraine. And first of all, as you can see from this video, presented us by the Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom, another batch of Ukrainian soldiers has just finished training on the self-propelled artillery systems AS-90. Then we have this video of also Ukrainians already using the American armored vehicle called Cougar closer to the front lines. But wait, there is more. In this picture we can see a Ukrainian soldier with the Polish multi-purpose armored vehicle called Dzik, and this one is used closer to Bakhmut. And then here is the video of a German PZH-2000 self-propelled howitzer used closer to Donetsk. Ukraine does not always necessarily rely only on this Western military equipment and vehicles, because right here, for example, we have allegedly a video of a Ukrainian first-person view drone which they use in one of the eastern front lines. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show the entire video in order to comply with the YouTube guidelines, but to make it up to you guys, I found even more combat and drone footage, and I uploaded all of it to my Patreon. The link will be down below. And speaking about the drones, in the last day alone, Russia has launched approximately 17 Shahed drones against Ukraine, and Ukrainians were able to intercept 14 of them. And as you can see, Russian drones are becoming less and less effective. That is why potentially, according to the representative of Ukrainian Air Force, Yuri Ignat, Russians started using gliding bombs as well. The range of this ammunition is approximately 70 kilometers, which is a little bit less than 50 miles, and Russians can send approximately up to 20 of them every single day, and they do it using their Su military planes. And at this point, unfortunately, the Ukrainian air defense is not that effective against these gliding bombs. And for this reason, the additional $2.6 billion military support package of the US to Ukraine, which will include additional ammunition, such as for Patriots and HIMARS, it will be extremely useful. And now, as promised, let's talk about the situation in the east and south of Ukraine, before we can talk about another yet ridiculous fake created by Russian propagandists. And first of all, we begin with the south, where according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, even though there is no direct threat to Crimea yet, Russians are still feeling very uneasy. And that is why they continue their efforts to build fortifications around this peninsula and also adjust their logistics accordingly. Then we have several reports from the locals in Odessa that some loud noises have been heard inside the city. And then, as we go all the way to the east to Donetsk region, Ukrainians reportedly destroyed a Russian mortar firing position located in Blagodatne. And since we started talking about the East, let's just for 1 second go outside of Ukraine and now to the territory of Russia, where recently an unmanned aerial vehicle has attacked a military enlistment office located in Bryansk. And so right now we go back to Ukraine, where first of all, according to the same report by the Institute for the Study of War, Russians continue their offensive along Svatove Kreminna front line with, as you guessed it, no success at all. We then even have this video from one of the Ukrainian soldiers who is showing the close combat actions in one of the eastern front lines. And just as always, if you want to see the entire version of this video, I upload it to my Patreon. The link will be down below, and there's still 1 week of free access. Next we go down to Kramatorsk, where one of its dams has been recently damaged, and unfortunately a local village has been partially submerged into water. And as we go to Bakhmut itself, the situation remains difficult but still stable, with Russians mainly attacking from the south and north of this city. Then they recently intensified their attacks from the northeast, but the situation around Ivanovsky remains completely under the control of Ukrainians. It has even been reported that Russians were able to advance a little bit closer to Bakhmut city center, and if you remember from my previous episode, the leader of Wagner even said that they legally took Bakhmut by installing their flag on one of the unidentified buildings. And well, recently, Ukrainian authorities were able to identify this building, and according to one of its representatives, Sergei Shrivatey, he basically said that yes, this used to be a government building of Bakhmut, the city hall in the past, but at this very moment the building is destroyed beyond recognition. At this point, obviously, it does not serve as the city hall. So whenever Wagner installed their flag on this building, it is basically almost the same as putting their flags in the ruins and saying, we just took them. Right, now let's really quickly talk about another ridiculous fake by the Russian propaganda. And then we will talk about why Putin potentially wants to erase Wagner and its leader Evgeny Prigozhin. And so yes, long story short, the Russian propagandists recently made a video that one of these Ukrainian legendary defenders of Bakhmut with the nickname Madyar got eliminated in the battle, and they even made this extremely convincing for the Patriots video. And so right here we have some Ukrainian soldiers reacting to this video, and then basically one guy says that I have no idea what to tell you, but I have somebody probably who can react to this more appropriately. And then he asks and shows this video to Madyar himself. And well, obviously seeing Madyar alive and well, this should not leave any questions to Russian propagandists or the Patriots. And speaking about Madyar, who by the way recently got relocated all the way from Bakhmut closer to the south to Avdiivka, he showed us this video that Ukrainians are having a very good reconnaissance and intelligence coming from Donetsk city itself, and they show us these videos with very high resolution. So maybe yes, it's a little bit too early to talk about the liberation of Donetsk city, but with high degree of confidence we can say that Ukrainians have eyes over this city, and it will be very easy for them to plan their counteroffensive. Now it's time to talk about why Putin wants to erase potentially Wagner and Evgeny Prigozhin himself. But first of all, in order for all of this to make sense, here is the video of Evgeny Prigozhin in this cafe in St. Petersburg, when you already know what happened there in the last couple of days. And just long story short, this is yet another show of power and influence of Prigozhin in the face of Russian authorities, in their long-standing confrontation between Wagner and the Ministry of Defense of Russia. And you know what? This cafe did belong to Prigozhin, and some people even claim that Evgeny Prigozhin himself was supposed to participate in this event. but this information is just yet to be confirmed. But just anyways, in one way or another, it does feel like, if you think about it, some kind of a warning from the Russian authorities to Wagner and Prigozhin himself. Even the British intelligence makes the statement that the Russian authorities, they're looking forward to find and replace Wagner. And you guessed it, the reason is exactly the same what we've been talking on this channel for the last several weeks, is that there is a confrontation between the Ministry of Defense of Russia and Wagner. But at the same time, the Russian leadership kinda likes the concept of these private military companies, because they're not supposed to be just these regular Russian civilians or men who were forced to go to the army. They can get paid a little bit different amounts, and there are not that publicly available information about them. And if you remember, in the past there were already some attempts to create even more private military companies. The first one was supposed to be built under Gazprom, one of the biggest corporations in Russia, and the second one was supposed to be in Crimea. And these are just the ones which kinda went public, so you can only imagine how many more are still in the shadows. But why Putin wants to erase specifically Evgeny Prigozhin and Wagner? Isn't it counterproductive? Because this specific private military company was predominantly responsible for this partial success of Russians in the east, specifically in Bakhmut. Putin surely knows it as well, and he just hates how much he depends on Evgeny Prigozhin, who, as we already spoke previously, just once again started showing even more signs of ambition and influence. And so, for Putin right now, it is between two choices. The choice number one is to let Wagner finalize and potentially capture Bakhmut, but this will increase absolutely indefinitely the political power and influence of Prigozhin. And the choice number two for Putin is to crush his political and ambitious opponent, basically retain his own influence, and just hope that the situation in Bakhmut will somehow resolve itself. And I mean, it's truly a lose-lose situation for Putin, besides obviously hundreds of other flaws and problems that he has behind his back. And so as of right now, we're getting extremely close to the turning point in this war and the monumental changes in this history, and not just about this war in Ukraine, but also within the political power and the highest authorities within Russia. And just once again, if you don't want to miss any of these historic events unfolding right in front of your eyes, just please consider subscribing to my channel. It only takes one click. And if you want to support my work financially, please consider becoming my channel member, use a PayPal link, or become my Patreon, where is still 1 week of free access. You can find all the access linked to the right and down below. Thank you so much for your attention, товарищи, and see you tomorrow.